another anniversary event in China, another 6-star selector ticket. I'm going to tell you the best operators to pick with the 6-star selector ticket purchasable during STULTIFERA NAVIS. I won't just rank the operators by strength, I'll also include availability over the next few months, factoring in the banners and the gold certificate store. That way you can make the best decision with your ticket. I get to use this image again, but in a reverse context. The Queen takes over the tier list. Before we proceed, however, what's the point of spending money buying the best units in the game if you're not going to use them to the max potential? If you want to get the max potential out of your operators, you must play Arknights on PC. This video is sponsored by LD Player 9, the latest version of the best Android emulator on PC and my emulator of choice. Many hours of streaming at twitch.tv/drvolk can attest to that. LD Player is a free Android emulator to play mobile games on PC with mouse and keyboard. It provides fast performance for Android gaming, supports various Windows systems and most popular apps and games, all in a lightweight software. It has a library of over 1 million games. LD Player 9 has a new engine that increases performance and stability of play with fast loading, higher frame rates, and lower resource consumption. It's also 64-bit now, allowing both 32 and 64-bit games in the one install. Hyper-V compatibility is now enabled as well. Newcomers can check the description for a link to install LD Player while supporting the channel at no cost to you. It's simply a referral link. For those of you who already use previous versions of LD Player, you can install LD Player 9 over the top of your old one. Keep all settings and instances as is. Just navigate the install path to your previous version. You'll know you are pointing at the correct location because it will say overwrite instead of install. So, why LD Player? I've not had stability issues, it plays my game smoothly, and the multi-instance works perfectly. It's still smooth when playing all 3 of my Arknights accounts at once, as you can see in the background. Check the description for a referral link to install LD Player 9 and Arknights on your PC at 0 cost to you. Thank you LD Player for sponsoring this video. The 6-star selector ticket from STULTIFERA NAVIS includes all standard operators up to and including the release of Fartooth as shown on the screen. The biggest addition this time is the inclusion of Calcet. As ever, there are no limited operators. The ticket costs $30 and includes one 10-pull ticket as well. This may cost more in your region, considerably more here in Australia, for instance, and it has a 60-day expiry. Alongside the monthly card, this is the best value item for purchase in Arknights. If you want to spend a little, this is an ideal choice. To help narrow down the best choices, let's first rank the operators into tiers. These rankings are general overall power across all relevant game modes, and remember, you are paying for this, so part of ranking is based on value for money. Of course, it is your money, your account, your time, so only you can make the ultimate decision. As there are more and more operators with each ticket, I will speed through each operator to keep this video at a reasonable length. We start with Siege, easily one of the worst units in the game at the moment. She's just about to get her module, which might make her great. At the very least, it might give her some more utility use. The module is 6 months away from coming to global, so you definitely don't want to have her in consideration. Then we've got regular Chen, whose module is a significant upgrade for her and makes her at the very least a good support unit to attack recovery operators. It's almost like having I say almost, it is exactly like having an artifact that gives passive regen for attack recovery units in integrated strategies. However, she's still really hamstrung by being the original version of Summer Chen, and until the change comes into effect, allowing you to use both at a time, there's very little use for her outside of very particular team builds that you want to go for. Not recommended. Skadi's a little bit in the same situation. She's good with her module as a pseudo-fast redeploy or as part of the Abyssal Hunter team. However, because of Corrupt Skadi being in play and you can't use both at the same time, her best use is blocked for at least another 6 months. So again, I wouldn't consider her. Magellan is a difficult unit to use. I think most people won't bother learning how to use her properly, especially considering you can just use Ling instead. Ling can accomplish the same thing and more, and is just so much easier to use. So Magellan has dropped down to the low tier. Now we get into the mid, where things are generally more niche picks or units that are great in the right circumstances. However, if you're paying for an operator, I recommend going for units with broad usage. Those you want in every roster, on every account, basically. You start with Weedy, the best pusher in the game. can infinitely hold the lane if units are light enough with her second skill. Angelina, great AoE slow on a short cooldown, some decent buffs to your team, solid operator, only overshadowed really by Gnosis, and who's not available on this ticket, by the way, and Suzerain. Shining, the best healer against physical damage. Nightingale, the best healer against arts damage. Passenger, who is one of the best units by far for integrated strategies. He's a really fun unit to use. Then we've got Schwartz, who is unfortunately going to get overshadowed in 3 months by Posey. However, she is Posey's best friend. Her and Posey do work really well together. And with her fast redeploy module, she gets a little bit of the Skadi treatment, giving her a unique use. Then we've got Blemishine, who is a more combat-orientated Saria, but also is the best friend of pretty much every other defender. So she's really good for defender teams. Saga, great lane holder, basically the better siege. Carnelian, a tank caster, has some niche uses in cases where you want a ranged unit to be your tank. Then we've got Mizuki. This class in general is a fairly niche class to use, but because of the interesting deployment options, by allowing you to put them right in the middle of the enemy team and you rarely ever have to worry about them dying, there is always this nice little damage and CC utility that you can deploy anywhere on the field. And he's likely to get a Life 2D skin in the coming months. Then we've got Ark, one of the best buffers in the game. Hoshiguma, one of the best straight up just raw tanks in the game. Kyobi, a single target caster that is unfortunately overshadowed by both Golden Glow and Aya, but still a solid unit. Archetto, one of the best units for integrated strategies, overshadowed for most content by Exia, but is still a great choice and pairs very well with offense recovery units. Eunectes, a tough to use lane holder. However, her module does improve her a lot, so she becomes much more usable. Pretty solid. Helliger, who is in dire need of a module to bring him back up in line to his glory days. Decent lane holder, but unfortunately lane holding is a pretty crowded area, and so there are just some better units these days. Rosa, excellent long range and counter to heavy enemies. Palace, another one of those units in integrated strategies, becomes one of the absolute best units. Then we've got Fartooth. Fartooth has an excellent niche with her full screen range and her undodgeable attacks. If you're struggling in Chapter 10 at the moment with the boss, I highly recommend you bring Calcit plus Fartooth and you'll make quick work of the boss in 2 seconds. And then we've got Mostima, who has moved up from the low tier thanks to her module. She's got a unique use with her module adding a global slow just by her being on the battlefield. All right, now we move to the top area. From this point onwards, this is where it becomes worth paying money for. In the mid tier, you kind of have to really like or really want the operator to spend money on it, in my opinion. We start with Suzu, who is one of the best offense boosting supports. While her skill is active, she essentially nullifies most enemy activity while also facilitating their deaths at the hands of your allies. Very strong unit. Every account should have someone like Suzu at least. Ifrit, linecaster, always good, always useful. The 5-star linecaster is nowhere near as good, so it's not even close to being a unit that you can make do with. There is just no comparison. Ifrit is really good, and in situations where there's an Ifrit lane, she makes all the difference, and sometimes is a solo carry. Blaze, excellent lane holder. Her extended chainsaw range should not be underestimated. Simply the ability to have her behind another unit, essentially doubling the lane holding power, and on her own she's already quite tough. Phantom, fast redeploys, one of the best archetypes in the game. Every fast redeploy is good. Phantom is the best with his very strong kill power with him and his clone. And then you've also got the options for some CC or tanking utility. Plus, he's got the Life 2D skin, which is always great. His module is absolutely one of the best, and it fixes his one weakness, which is the high DP cost, because he gets most of it back once you build that module. Mountain, easiest unit in the game to use. You just put him down, you activate his skill, he just sits there, and he doesn't die, and he holds lane. Really, really easy to use. Very beginner friendly. Exia, best rapid fire sniper in the game. She just mows down enemies. Really good at taking buffs. You buff Exia, the damage is multiplied to crazy degrees, and she just does a stupid amount of damage. Saria, oh, definitely the best healing defender. Her healing utility is really strong, plus she also gives SP every time she heals. And couple that with her good survivability, that 3 block from being a defender. She's just an all-around great utility box to have on your team. Then we've got Selector. Selector was almost put into the mid-tier. Her power is very high, but of the top tier units, I would definitely put her as the lowest priority. But if you're at that stage where you're starting to go for a bit more of the luxury picks, Selector's damage boost and amplification very early on in a run really does make a difference. It's just not that essential. So she's the luxury pick of this top tier. Then we get to the best tier. Most of the best tier is populated by sweeper type units. Units that would just clear the map as needed. Every account should have at least 2 sweepers, and they're generally the units that you want to focus on first as a new player, because when facing the biggest threats, which is usually bosses, sweepers are the best units at dealing with them. And so it means that when you reach those bottlenecks, the sweepers will help get you through. So we start with Silver Ash. He's like the OG sweeper, an absolute classic. His big arc of damage, long duration, quick charge time, very easy to use. His ability to also hit invisible enemies makes him invaluable in certain situations. Excellent sweeper. For those wondering if he gets replaced by the upcoming Moina, no, he doesn't. Moina is a better unit, but is used in a slightly different way, because Moina does not have that quick deploy and then activate skill that Silver Ash has. Also, Moina doesn't hit invisible units. In fact, Moina and Silver Ash are a great combo together because you've got pretty much everything covered at that point. Then we've got Aya, the caster sweeper with her 3rd skill, but then you've also got really good lane clearing capabilities with her 2nd skill, like consistent lane clearing. She doesn't even have a module yet, so we don't know what's going to come of it. Mudrock. She was the top pick on the previous ticket, and Mudrock is still an amazing unit, completely unique in how she works with the shield and just the sheer power of her abilities. Excellent lane holding unit. In Chapter 10, however, she does have a very good use at absorbing the cannon fire. She can tank that cannon like no tomorrow with her shield up. Then we've got Bagpipe, the best Vanguard in the game. Other than making all your Vanguards start with more SP, which is incredibly busted on its own, she does a ridiculous amount of damage. She has guard levels of damage with her skill active, particularly skill 3, and very good survivability as well. Plus, she gives you all the DP that you want in the world. Incredibly broken unit. In some ways, she's probably the most busted unit in the game because she does nullify DP problems. Then we've got Thorns, the man who can do everything. Thorns can hit ground and air units. He can heal himself when out of combat. He's got decent survivability beyond that as well. And his damage is just ridiculously high. I use him all the time. He's probably my most used unit, to be honest. And then we come to Surta, the other go-to sweeper that many people use. She's a good complement to the likes of Silver Ash because she does the arts damage. Her immortality is really what makes her stand out the most because it allows you to guarantee a certain amount of damage. Even if the enemy can one-shot you, Surta will stay on the field for at least 8 seconds doing a bit of extra damage. And that alone is really good. But you add on top of that that she does a ridiculous amount of damage at a distance on multiple targets, and she's just, as a result, incredibly powerful. And then Calcet. Calcet is another unique operator in this game because she's a bit like a summoner. She just has the one summon of monster, who's most known for the skill 3, which deals true damage. Now, true damage not only ignores resistance and defense, it also ignores dodge. And its ability to ignore dodge is its most useful feature. If you want to know what I mean, go up against the Chapter 10 boss, take a bunch of your strong units, bring Summer Chen, bring Silver Ash, get them to activate the abilities on the boss and see how little damage the boss takes. Then deploy Monster and just get Monster to start eating the boss and look at how much damage that does. Simply because the true damage ignores the dodge. With all the units ranked, I want you to keep in mind this is a very broad tier list, and modules also do greatly improve some of the weaker units, such as Mustima, Chen, Skadi. It makes a really big difference. And then, in 6 months, once they remove the restriction on being able to use original units plus their alternate versions, they will also become much more useful. That said, we are far enough from that change that I would leave it out of consideration for this ticket. And just a quick reminder that the likes of Fear Meta, Golden Glow, Lee, Gnosis, Flametail, and Horn are not available on this ticket. However, they will be available on the next one in 6 months' time. Now, there is more to consider than just a unit's power in making your decision. Availability is also hugely important to extract the best value from your purchase. Let me elaborate. There are a lot of banners appearing over the next 6 months, even excluding the standard banners every 2 weeks. Relevant to this video are the Joint Operations banner after STULTIFERA NAVIS, another after the following limited event in 3 months, and the first Story Joint Op style banner before Chapter 11. Joint Ops banners only have the 4 pictured focus 6-star units. 25% chance each on a 6-star pull. No other 6-star is possible on these banners. So the first one has Skadi, Calcit, Exia, and Mountain, and the second has Carnelian, Magellan, Bagpipe, and Passenger. The Story Retrospective banner is like a Joint Ops one, but with only 3 units, Horn, Sailor, and Mudrock. 33% chance each on a 6-star pull. For full details on all of these banners, I will have another 6 months of banners video out in a few days, so be sure to subscribe for that one. Link will be in the description if you watch this video after that one is out. It will be a great companion video to this one. Before we go any further, let's look at the upcoming Gold Certificate store schedule. If you can buy a unit with Gold Certificates, it beats $30. The left side are the debuts in the Gold Certificate store. These are guaranteed and on a set schedule every 6 weeks. The right side is more speculative based on how long it's been since the previous appearance and the number of appearances so far in the Gold Certificate store. This video releases with Schwartz currently in the store, and Surtur will debut on the next banner. The most overdue units are actually Ifrit and Siege. However, they recently appeared as the non-gold store 6 stars on standard banners. So if you're hoping to buy those, you'll have to wait a while for them to return. Sometimes they do that, even when a unit is due for purchase. However, Bagpipe, she is one such unit that got screwed over in this way, but she is really, really overdue for an appearance, especially if we look 6 months from now. And CN did have a second appearance of her by this point. So I don't know why we got blocked on this, but I reckon that she will reappear in a standard banner sooner than most other units and will be purchasable in the Gold Certificate store. But it'll be towards the latter end of the following 6 months. With the schedule in mind, let's now balance the power and availability of our choices. Gold tinted units are the gold debuts over the next 6 months. The other units in the common area are highly likely to be purchasable over the coming months from the Gold Certificate store, so it's not worth using your 6-star selector ticket on them. Of course, if there are quite a number of units from the area that you want to have, and you're not going to have enough Gold Certificates, then by all means. If you want Mudrock, Blemishine, Surtur, Mountain, and Blaze, then by all means use your ticket on Mudrock and then buy Surtur in 2 weeks and then save up for the rest with your Gold Certificates when you can. The uncommon area is where, with a bit more patience, you're likely to be able to buy them with the Gold Certificates. And my recommendation is that it is worth waiting to buy them with the Gold Certificates, because if you're planning long term with your pulls and such, and keep in mind there are new units coming all the time, it's better to budget in such a way that your pulls are going more towards new units, your Gold Certificates are going towards the key units that you want over time, and then you're supplementing it with the 6-star selector ticket to get a key unit that is difficult to get, and you want to get that unit right now. And then we go to the rare section. These are units where, apart from standard banner non-store appearances, they're unlikely over the next 6 months to be purchasable, or some of them are way off from even debuting, such as Calcit. She doesn't debut until September 2023. So overall, your money is best spent on someone from the best tier in the rare section. However, the top tier is also perfectly fine. And then if you want a particular utility or niche pick, the mid tier is perfectly acceptable as well, especially if it's a unit that is far off from going to the Gold Certificate store. When balancing power and availability, the single best choice here is Calcit. She will soon be the last of the best tier unavailable in the Gold store, as she doesn't debut for another year. Her true damage is absolutely invaluable in every upcoming event. She's really powerful and broken in many ways. So if you don't have her and simply want the best choice, go Calcit. Do your Stultifera Navis pulls first, of course. You never know. And of course, there is the upcoming Joint Ops banner right after this event. If you intend to pull on that banner, then hold off before you use your ticket. Perhaps she might be the first 6-star that you pull, and then you can select someone else. The ticket has a 60-day expiry, which is well within... The banner appears well within that time limit, so you can hold on for a little bit and see what you get. My second highest pick would be Thorns, because if you missed out on purchasing him in the Gold Certificate store very recently, it's going to be a while before he reappears, and his just all-around utility and high levels of power just make him extremely useful, even on a brand new account. So if you've already got Calcit, then go for Thorns. Calcit is just a little bit more difficult to get than Thorns, but either of them are both excellent picks. If your choices are a little tougher, as in you've already got Thorns and Calcit and you're debating on who to pick, here are my final tips to make a decision. The general rule in Arknights is you want to go for offense units first, then support units that boost your offense, such as Suzerain, then defense units, and then support units that boost your defense. If you're undecided between a bunch of great picks, go for whoever fills the biggest gap in your roster first. So if you've already got a sweeper and you've already got a couple of lane holders, it might be a good option to go for someone who can do something in a little different way, such as perhaps you want Fartooth for the undodgeable attacks. In the same vein, don't overstock on lane holders. Plenty of great units in this game are lane holders, and there are a ton of lane holders. The likes of Blaze, Thorns, Mudrock, Mountain, Eunectes, and you don't need that many. The main reason to have all of them eventually is just they shine in different areas. But if you've already got a couple, don't get another. Even though Mountain is better than, say, Nightingale, if you've got really weak healing, then you might want to go for Nightingale over Mountain, because that's just going to be more useful overall. The same applies for Sweepers. Sweepers are the flashiest, most overpowered looking units, and frankly, they are some of the most overpowered units in the game, but they definitely look the most overpowered, even to a brand new player, because of their ability to just delete units of the map. So it's a bit of a trap to go for nothing but Sweepers when you first start out. You will have much more success if you've got a more diverse roster that can handle every different conundrum that the game throws at you. So once you've got 1 or 2 sweepers, start focusing on other units. My recommendation is go for like 1 art sweeper, 1 physical damage sweeper. That way you've just got the lovely mix. And with Surta purchasable in 2 weeks, she's the perfect art sweeper for you to have. For overpopulated classes like anti-air snipers, which is a very, very overpopulated class, if you have several good lower rarity ones, such as Blue Poison and Platinum already built, you don't need to upgrade to the 6 stars that quickly. Yes, Exia and Archetto are better than the lower rarity snipers, but it would be more useful and more efficient to keep using those 5-star snipers and then to get a 6-star in another class that you need more, even if that unit might be a little bit weaker than Exia. Diversify. Fill the gaps first. If you are focused on integrated strategies, because that's your favorite mode, then my top picks for that are Passenger, Archetto, and Palace. Those 3 units become absolute best tier picks for those game modes, and this holds true for Integrated Strategies 3 as well. If you're looking for the more utility wildcard picks, my top recommendations are Nightingale for the Arts Resist, Mustima for her map-wide slow once you build her module, and then Skadi a bit further down the line with the Abyssal Hunter team. Once Gladia gets her module, the Abyssal Hunter team becomes significantly more powerful, and then it's even better once they remove the restriction on not being able to use the original plus the alternate version of an operator at the same time. And one final point. Now, of course, this is your money. You're free to do with it whatever you want, but I do not think that $30 for a potential is worth it. There is no potential in the game that makes a big enough difference that is worth that purchase price. As for who's the best pick for a potential, it's Bagpipe. Bagpipe's potential 5 is the most impactful potential in the game. So if there's one unit that you are going to spend money for a potential, go with Bagpipe. And so we sail to the end. You now have the knowledge needed to make the best decision on which operator to pick from Stultifera Navis's 6-star selector ticket. Do feel free to comment below if you need further advice. I will do my best to respond, and members of the community can weigh in as well. When Stultifera Navis releases, I'll be doing viewer pulls for the new units, likely a marathon session, scam-free guarantee, and creating a brand new account to beat the entire event before it finishes, all live on Twitch at twitch.tv/drvolk. Do come and join me. I stream several times a week outside of that. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here and hit that bell so you don't miss anything, including upcoming videos on the next 6 months of banners and all the best modules in the game. We also have a Discord server where you can ask for help or add friends, link below. Thank you kindly for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.